Hello, my friends. This is Joe. How you doing today? I'm at my office in Whittier, and I'm at 949-439-0383. Padovich, Padovich. I'm the only Padovich on the DRE here in California. There is one back. There's another Padovich somewhere back east, and I'm here to talk to you about rents today. I usually try to work with sellers, but I'm going to try to invite my buyer friends also to me and to assist them. I want you to look at something that's very important here. We'll be here about 15, 20 minutes. I want to talk to you about something that's very, very critical and very important in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry. And as everybody knows, what is your biggest asset you have? It's going to be your real estate. Okay. Now we have high-end investors who have a lot of projects, a lot of properties, a lot of investments, stocks, bonds. We're just talking. Let's just stay with housing and the housing market. So one of the important things to look at for everybody to look at here and understand is if you own a property, you're building up investment. You're building up longevity. You're building up equity, and you're also building up community to your build up to your community. And I'm not saying there's anything, absolutely anything wrong with rentals. I don't disagree with it. There are people, some people that don't want to own a property and they have their investment in other places. They'd rather just have an apartment, be left alone, don't have to worry about manicuring the lawn, mowing the yard, doing anything, and they can just call something happens. That's good, that's good. But let's look at this thing in a cost-effective way. Sometimes people you're going to be a certain age. You might be a college student, you might just graduate college, you might be 30, you might be 40, 50, whatever. But in your life, it's going to progress. You're going to get older, okay? And eventually, when you hit 45, 50, 60 years old, you're, you're, you got all these opportunities, okay? And your opportunities are going to dwindle because your age. Now, I understand there's many people out there that are in their 70s, 80s, and they're doing their thing, and they're still out there, and they got all these projects. But a lot of people are like this. They go like this, retiring from work, doing something different. So it's closing in and it's getting less and less, okay? Like sports, okay? The athlete is going to eventually retire, okay? The student's going to eventually graduate. The person is eventually retire. Things are happening in your life that are making you like this. Everything's getting closer, tighter, okay? So, but when we're like looking at real estate, with the market, with real estate, as an owner, you're like this, okay? But if you're in an apartment, you're always gonna have to pay rent. Always gonna have to pay rent. You could be 18 years old renting your first apartment, or 90 years old renting your first apartment, but you're putting money out every day. You're paying out every month, and you're not gaining anything from the property that you're renting from, other than your place to sleep and you live. Which is good. But the thing about it, the matter is, the most important thing is what? Your comfort. So if things are retracting like this when you're getting older, retiring, it's getting like this, you see less opportunities. But with an apartment like this with less opportunities, unless you have your private investments, that's different, as real estate. But it's like this, because you have to pay your rent every month. But if you have a house with a lot of equity and a lot of stuff you can do and you retire, you're like this, you have more opportunities, okay? So the disclaimer is here, we're dealing with people that, average workers who pay rent versus people who have a mortgage payment. When I talk about high end, when I talk about people who have a lot of inheritance, a lot of stuff, we're talking about just a normal, regular, everyday Joe that either pays rent or a mortgage payment. But the important thing to understand is, where does that rent take you? Does that rent leave you this way when you get older? Or does that house bring you this way when you get older? When you have equity, it's bringing you this way. okay? So let's delve into some important things here. I am not against, as I said before, renters. I have no problem with renting an apartment. I think it's great for some people. It's wonderful. People who don't want to deal with it, rent an apartment, have no problem with that. But you got to realize, renting an apartment or a house or whatever does not build up your equity. Now, you can do other side things, that's different. We're talking about housing here. So what you want to look at, how are we going to look at turning this rental into an investment house? Because if you buy property, it is automatic an investment. It goes up in value. Not much like cars, okay, I could be wrong, but most cars lose value since you start driving, unfortunately. But let's look at this thing, we're talking about, I'm at 90605, but I can work anywhere in the state of California. If you need me in Eureka or Truckee or Nevada City or Carson or San Diego, anywhere up the whole state of California, I'm available at 949-439-0380. Now let's look at these trends. Now remember, your housing value is going to go up. Yeah, you got to hold it for a little while. It's going to go up in value, but you got to hold it for a little while. But a one-bedroom apartment is $1,950 in 90605. Okay. Now I'm not looking at it. Okay. Let's go here. Now I'm not looking about an apartment, a house. Let's go here, and let's go to a house. Apply it. Okay, so this stays the same, okay? Now let's look at this. So you're paying rent in a one-bedroom house, okay, in the city of Whittier 90605 for $1,950 a year. Now, I'm not going to go out and get the calculator, do this calculator of what it is a month, a year, and all that stuff. Okay, understand you're not paying property taxes. Understand you're not paying escrow fees. Understand you're not paying all that stuff. But for a one-bedroom apartment, I want you to think about this for a minute. A one-bedroom apartment house in Whittier is $1,950. Okay. Now, we could just go delve into MLS and delve into more stuff here and look and see how many more of these there is out here. Okay. How many more of this type of stuff is out here in the 9605? Okay. So, but we can go deeper and go in the MLS, but we're just talking about rentals today. Next time you come in here, we're going to talk about rentals with the MLS, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you buy a one-bedroom, rent a one-bedroom house, it's $1,950, a one-bedroom. How much is a mortgage in Whittier for a three-bedroom house? 19. Okay, it's going to be more than that. It'll probably be like 2,400, right around there. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, depending on what it is. But here's the thing. Look at the price for this one-bedroom apartment. Look at a three-bedroom apartment. Okay? Look at the three-bedroom apartment. And look at the studio apartment. That's $1,550 a month per studio. And look at what in 2025 went up. Now it's up 1%. See, now the two bedrooms down 1% here, but look at the price of the last 30 days of this projects, this stuff going on here. You're looking at $1,950 and your rent's going up, but your equity's not. Okay? Same thing with a two-bedroom, a three-bedroom. Look at the three-bedroom. And with the mortgage, a three-bedroom in Whittier should like $3,000, $3,400, depending on the type of mortgage you get. So you look at this stuff here and you say, how do I eliminate paying? How do I eliminate paying this cost and flip it into a project where I'm going to be making money? How do I turn it from A to B, where I'm not paying out? I'm paying in, but I'm also getting what I need to get in order to have equity. So when you're paying into a mortgage, to a rent, you're paying into rent, what are you doing here? When you're paying into rent, you're enriching somebody else when you're paying rent, okay? You're paying for their benefit. You're paying to assist them, okay? You're paying for their benefit, okay? That's important to understand. Everything you pay in rent is to benefit somebody else, another owner of that complex, of that property, of that house, okay? It could be a, whatever, it could be a apartment complex, it could be just a house, it could be running in somebody's yard. But the thing about this is, you've got to look at the timetables when you want to do this. I understand you're starting out, hey, I'm just starting out, I'm only 27, 23, I'm starting out, I'm in a rental right now. Build up your equity, build up your house, build yourself up in order to get into something. Have that 3.5% down, build it up. If you want to be a renter, great, I think that's wonderful, but build up your time. Build yourself up so you can go from A to B and buy that house or that condo and then step up to another one and build up that equity. So what's the important thing here to look at? Look at your apartment or your rental as a stone. Look at the house or condo you're gonna buy as a step. Okay? You got a stone here, your rent, your apartment, and there's a stepping stones here. So you're moving from point A to point B. You're going up the ladder, you're up the step. Now the step's gonna be all up here, or the step's gonna be right here. Some people may just wanna rent, wait 5 years, buy a condo, happy with it, and be right there. Or some people wanna go from here and buy a house, then get another house with a pool, then after that get a big house and builds up. You have steps, you have layers you wanna, what is your layer? What is your step? How far, how high you wanna step up? And the first thing you do is when you're in an apartment, look what you're doing. When you sign a lease, you want to sign up for a year, you want to sign up for 6 months, or whatever. If you sign up for a year, negotiate the price down. $50 a month, or something like that. And he goes, hey, I want to sign a year lease, but I want $50 off. Okay? And they say no, go someplace else. Ask, always ask, always ask. And make sure they don't charge you pet fees. If you go to apartments.com, there will be apartments that are going to charge you, or communities that will charge you $50 a month for your cat or your dog or whatever. Get that waived off. The important thing is you got to save money, you got to contribute to yourself and contribute to your livelihood and your family and all those in your life, either family, relatives, whatever. But you have to have your stepping stone here. You got to be able to build yourself up. So important thing, critical thing here is what is that? What is the critical important thing here? Look at the rents. The rents are going up. Look at the rents in the studio apartment. 103% last year. Now it's only up 1%. Why change? Why pay that kind of money for a 4-bedroom house? Look at that. Look at the 3-bedroom. Now I know people are going to say the person, Joe, hey Joe, the person, I don't have the ability to come up with $18,000 for my down payment, to put on my down payment to buy a house, and I can't afford $4,000 a month in a mortgage. But true. We totally agree on that. Okay, so what's the first thing we're going to look at? Go from here, like this, take all your expenses that are out here, squeeze them in, and eliminate something every month, what you don't need. Eliminate something. Find a place like, oh, I work in Century City, Century City, Los Angeles, okay? But in order to work in Los Angeles, I got to live in Culver City, which is right down the 405 freeway. But Culver City in the West LA is one of the most expensive places you could live as a renter. Because this is Whittier. These rents are in Whittier. Now, if you go to let's look at this. I'm going to show you. Let's look at Culver City. Look at Culver City here. Okay? See, look at Culver City. See, you live in Century City, but you work in Century City, but you want to live in Culver City because it's close. Look at the rents here versus Whittier. You're paying 4,000, you're paying almost 4,900, you're paying 60. Look at the amount of money you're paying to live in Culver City. $12,000 for an average rent. That's madness. That is idiotic, okay? So what is the first thing you gotta do is, why am I here? Why am I spending this? So you could live in Whittier. You could live in Downey. Okay, look at the rents here, a two-bedroom. Now, let's go back here. Let's go to, back to Whittier. Right? Okay, the two-bedroom, okay. Now you see that, now let's look at Whittier. See the difference in Whittier versus there? You're paying $2,000 a month more to live in Culver City and to work in Century City. So what's the first thing you do? Oh, I'm gonna move to Whittier. I'll rent in Whittier, and I'll take the train or take the bus, and you take the green line, blue line, or the metro or the bus, and save $2,000 a month taking the train. This is what I want you to think about. Think. I want you to think about what you're doing out there, because if you're gonna parlay this $2,000, so if you have the money to spend $4,900 on a rental in Culver City, and you turn that around and say, I'm gonna take the same amount of rent, I'm gonna go to Whittier and rent for $2,750 and save that $2,000 or $1,900 difference, and every month for 2 years, I'm gonna take that $2,000 extra and put it in a bank account every year, every month for 2 years. Put it in, or whatever amount of time is. And at that time of period, you'll have $20,000 or whatever amount you'll have. And then you'll have that 3%, and then you can borrow against that 3% to get a house. So your goal is not to pay rent. Your goal is to come in here to purchase a home. So think of where you're at. Think of what you're doing, okay? You live in, let's go here. So let's go to Century City. Century City, okay? Let's look at Century City, Los Angeles. $6,500 for rent. That's rent. Now let's look at the numbers here in Century City. Who's in Century City? Yes, high-end people, people who are educated, masters, bachelors, lawyers, doctors, accountants, in the medical profession, and some actors, and the West Side. Let's look at the West Side here. One bedroom, $3,300, has been up the last 30 days, up 35%. So you're gonna take that 35% out of your wallet and live in Century City in one bedroom. You can go to Whittier, live down there for $1,900, just to impress people, just to be in the crowd. Look at the two bedroom. Look at the three. Look at the four bedroom. Look at the studio apartment. Now, studio apartment the studio in Century City is not too bad for $2,000. That's doable. Is okay. I'm not gonna say anything negative about that. But all you gotta do is go from point A to point B, and you're lowering your costs and your rents. You're not paying this out of pocket expenses from stagnating you from getting where you should be. You should be in a house. I'm the one to put you there. You should be in a house. Joe Pavich should be able to get you into that house and say, why are you paying this rent for? Who are you trying to impress? Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm on call, I gotta be here. That's different, you gotta be there. Oh, I'm this. I'm an airline pilot, I gotta be at the airport on call, I gotta be here. I get it, you're over by the airport. LAX, which is a little, not too far from Century City. But I have a job that makes, I have to be here. I'm an attorney, I do these type of cases, I must be here, I must be on call when a period, because I'm here. I'm a judge, I'm here, I gotta be here. Fine. But what you gotta do, you gotta say to yourself, okay, Joe Pavich, what am I doing wrong here? How is Joe Pavich gonna get me into this house and out of this apartment? What does Joe Pavich do to assist me? One of the important things you gotta look at is not what I'm saying, is you gotta look at how you're looking at yourself within your realm. You might make a lot of money, but if you're paying money to a rent, that's okay. That's not a problem. But if you're not stepping up, life is a life is about stepping up. You mean you go from elementary to junior to high to graduate? Your life, you're stepping up. You're going like this every day, every week, every month, every year. You're stepping up. You're doing something different. You're improving yourself every day. You're stepping up somehow. You're making your life better. You're making yourself better. However you want to do that. You can't be stagnant. You can't be someplace. I like it here. I've been here for 5 years. But here's the thing: is you're going to go like this, like we talked about. You're going to slow down. So if you're in your apartment and you're paying $4,750 for an apartment, if you have children, you're probably paying $6,500 or not, this high amount of money. When you get 40, 50 years old, in your late 40s into 50s, you're going like this now. Okay? You're seeing things smaller. You're seeing things smaller. Not everything's like this anymore. You're seeing things smaller. No, being 40, 45, 50, you're still out there. You're still like this. You're still working. You're still progressing. You're still working. You're still out there. That's true. But you're in this realm of like going like this. You're closing. You're closing. It's closing. You're getting less opportunities like we talked about before. It's closing. And it's going to shut down when you hit a certain age. A certain age and say, I've done enough. I don't want to practice law anymore. I've done all this. I can't do this. I'm 70. I have to retire, or whatever the mandatory retirement is from the airlines as pilots. Or as a surgeon, I can't do it anymore because my eyesight, my reflexes aren't good enough to do it anymore. That's one thing Ben Carson talked about. Brain surgery, I'm not mistaken. Your age, so you're getting this way, it's collapsing, it's getting smaller and smaller. So when it collapses and you're like, oh, I don't want to do it no more, I'm done, you don't want to be done having to pay out $9,000, $6,000, $4,000, $7,000 a month for rent. You want to make sure that you're in a place where it's like you have your equity, you built yourself up. So one of the important things is use yourself to conduct yourself in a way that's going to improve your life when you get older. There are so many people that retire and they're retirees and they work at Walmart or they work another place. And I think that's beautiful. I don't have a problem with anybody work. I think it's wonderful. Because you know what? I'm not looking at anybody as, oh my God, guy's working, he's retired because he has nothing. You know what? Maybe the guy's retired and he's got a lot of money in the bank, he's retired and he wants to work. I know people that are in their 80s that are retired and they work because they don't want to be at home. They don't want to sit at home doing nothing every day. And they're active and proactive. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is you want to get an opportunity where you're working for yourself. I don't mean that you're self-employed, but you're working for yourself, your money's working for you. So people have these apartments at $9,000, $6,500, and they have all this stuff here. They're more than likely very wealthy, very successful. And they have investments. It doesn't matter if they keep their apartment. They got everything they need to live and retire on. Okay? But if you're just a working person and going to retire, you have your thing and all that stuff, you got all this here, you got to make sure that it doesn't go this way, it goes this way. So how do you do this? How do you like move in from an apartment complex and build up equity? Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to give me a call at 949-439-0383. You got to make sure that you have all your assets together. Like, how much can you afford in an apartment? How much can you afford in your apartment versus how much you can afford in a house? So what I want you to do, get yourself a pen and paper. Okay? Add up the gas, water, electricity, all utilities, put all that together, put that in a separate bunch. Add up your credit card, car payments, all this stuff, put in a separate bunch. Add your other expenses, kids, other expenses, investments, other expenses. You want piles of all these things. Then you want to add up your apartment, rents, all this other stuff. Put that in there. How much you spend a month to park your car? Do you have parking fees, parking costs, all that? Put all these things in little piles. Add them all up. And look, what can I eliminate here? What can I knock off here to save me some money? Absolutely, what can I take off of here that's gonna save money every single month? At what period of time can I take something off here? Maybe I could save $50 a month on, oh, I don't need 22, streaming service. Oh, I don't need this. So start eliminating stuff. And then what I want you to do is take all your expenses, your housing expense, your credit card, your miscellaneous, your family, all this other stuff, put them all together like I talked about. Take some stuff and take a few things and knock them out. Okay? Knock them out. And one of the more important things, like, are you paying a fee to park your car at your complex? Are you paying any kind of rental fee for your car? Are you paying a fee for your animal? Try to eliminate that stuff. So then I want you to do is start putting money into a separate account in order to invest and buy a property. Okay? There's a lot of real estate laws now about allowing investors or sellers to assist buyers buying property, which we can assist you with. But the important thing is you want to make sure that you're saving money to move into some place and build up your equity. You want to build up your equity in yourself. Remember, equity is here. It's going to give you that broad opportunity. People have millions of dollars in equity, like you've heard of millions of dollars. Anybody have heard of Emerald Bay? Emerald Bay is trust fund city. Everybody down there, everything's down there worth millions. But it's almost as trust fund. But you want your trust fund to work for you on your equity in yourself. So you take your expenses, eliminate your expenses a little bit, build it up to buy a house. Like I said before, give me a call at 949-439-0883, and I can assist you finding a property. Now, the thing about it is, here's the issue. As you know, the property manager pays, the owner of the property pays whatever mortgage is on the property, also pays the property taxes, insurance, and all that stuff. So do the research. What's the house worth? What's your monthly rent to be? Go to the owner and say, hey, Bill, or Jennifer, or Paul, whatever. Say, I see you own this property. I'm renting it for you. I'd like you get an option to buy. You know what I mean? I'd like you get an option to buy. Do that. Maybe they'll work with you. But the important thing is, build your equity in yourself. Build your equity into getting a property so you can have equity. So when you're turning 65, 50, 60 years old, and you're starting to go like this and things are closing in, you could be comfortable, and we're talking about housing only, you could be comfortable in your equity and retire. Okay? Because there's many, many people, man, that don't pay attention. I've talked to numerous people. I tell them, hey, man, you're getting to that age, you're doing a job that's physical, and you should look at about doing something else and get a property. You should invest or buy a property so you have something so you can build equity, or unless you're doing stocks we talked about before. But the important thing about it is equity, tranquility, equity, happiness, however you get it. Okay, my friends, this is Joe Padovich at Padovich. I'm at 949-439-0383. I am in Whittier, California, 90605. But I can travel anywhere for you, man. Give me a call whenever you need me. I'm here. And my social media is here too on YouTube. Thank you very much for stopping in. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Have a good day. I will talk to you in a little while again. Thank you and have a wonderful day. And remember, work hard for yourself. And thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you so much.